Well, Biden is making a list. And to be quite frank with you, if you are on this list, you have every right to be ticked off and straight out panic. Because what the Democrats are attempting to do is create a national registry of gun owners. And chances are, if you're more of a conservative, a Republican, a Christian, or a patriot of any sort, then your name is going to make this list. And they could very well use it against you in the future, just like Hitler did and Mao did and all the other dictators of our time. If you do not think this is an issue, I want to hearken you to guess again, because these are very constitutional rights that are at stake. In fact, I've got an explosive report to share with you guys today. For starters, let's go on over to the executive order that Biden is signing to ramp up gun control. Take a look at the epictimes.com. Biden signs executive order to ramp up gun control. It goes on. President Joe Biden signed an executive order on March 14th to advance gun control measures, including a step towards universal background checks as much as current law will allow without requiring any kind of new legislation. In other words, he's creating loopholes and going around the system in order to implement his tyrannical dictates. Now, that article goes on to state this: the executive order promotes the expansion use of red flag laws, scrutiny of the gun industry, and the ability to identify and apprehend shooters. Biden will also ask the FTC to issue a report on the marketing of firearms to children. According to the White House, this would be accomplished by increased enforcement of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. This act will be especially instrumental in implementing at least two of Biden's most controversial plans. It goes on to state, the act would increase the number of required background checks by redefining the term who is engaged in the business of dealing with firearms. Currently, the law considers someone engaged in the business of dealing firearms if it is their principal objective of livelihood and profit. The act would change that to predominantly earn a profit. Critics of the change say this would encompass most private sales between individuals which currently do not require a background check. In other words, they would have everybody and anybody on a registry. If you go and give this gun to your son and some kind of profit is made, therefore you have to have a background check. It basically treats you as if you're a firearm dealer in a sort of way, shape, or form. This is an absolute outrage. In fact, the gun owners of America are aghast at the potential expansion of the ATF that Biden intends to do. Take a look at another Epic Times article. And again, this is really, really important. Gun owners of America aghast at potential ATF expansion. Organizers call on Congress to cut firearms control funding in Biden's budget. The article states a national gun rights organization is decrying the expansion of the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, the ATF, in President Joe Biden's $6.8 trillion budget proposal for 2024. The Gun Owners of America is extremely concerned at the massive surge in ATF funding in recent years, doubling the size of the agency since the end of the Obama administration. Aiden Johnston, Gun Owners of America Director of Federal Affairs, wrote in an email to the Epic Times. Biden's budget proposal contains $1.9 billion for the ATF. This is a 13.6% increase over 2022 and $500 million more than the agency's fiscal budget in 2020. If passed as written, his budget would expand the ATF by 35.7%, an overall growth of more than 50% since Obama's administration. And in conclusion, the GOA said the budget items are nothing more than incremental gun control that will make no one safer while denying law-abiding gun owners their constitutional rights. And I agree 100%. Here's the thing. When you take his executive order with a massive increase to the ATF, you've got a real problem here. In fact, Dan Bongino describes it very well in his latest report. And this report is titled, Biden Wants to Put You on a List. And the list he's talking about is a national gun registry. But I want you to hear very closely what he has to say here about this ATF expansion and this executive order. Take a listen.
Yesterday, launched this executive order that I promise you the purpose of it was to put you on a list. Here, let's walk through it. It's going to take a second to explain this, but it's not complicated. So the ATF uses a zero tolerance policy, to build an unconstitutional gun registry, this act claims. GAO obtained an internal policy memo which ATF officials explain how to shut down law-abiding gun shops for minor infractions. Now, hold that. Hold, William Wallace style. Why would the ATF be wanting to shut down gun stores for minor infractions? Well, they don't want them to sell guns, Dan. Yeah, kinda, but that's not the real reason. Because when a shop closes, all of its sales records for its guns are transferred to the government. Oh, really? GAO claims the ATF has then aggregated these records into a central gun registry to track all firearms, whether they've been used in a crime or not. Wow.
There you go. Oh, why do they want to shut down the gun shops? Because then all the information gets transferred to our federal government. Cue the National Registry. Are you on the list? Quite frankly, if you are on the list, imagine the scenario, right? Say you're a MAGA supporter. You want to go see a Trump event at some kind of rally that he's holding. You go to the rally and the ATF is there or whoever's there, and they're like, hey, we have you having a gun. You got a MAGA hat on. There's already suspicion, because the FBI labels Trump supporters, as potential terrorists and the whole 9 yards. And hey, he also dislikes critical race theory. And once he spoke at a parental, spoke at his child's school, at a school board meeting. He was anti these masks or whatever, fill in the blank. And hey, now he is. Here's little Miss Lisa Haven at this rally with a MAGA hat who owns a gun. We're going to go knock on her door and inquire about that gun. Imagine what they will and can do or may do with that kind of registry. It's almost as if they're building a case, very quite frankly, against conservatives massively. I mean, I'm getting some eerie feelings to some things that happened very horribly in history's past. And look, if we don't know what happened in history's past and some awful things did, then we are going to be doomed to repeat it. That's why this is so important. It gets me so frustrated when not a lot of people focus their attention on these kinds of things. And I want you to also notice, and this is a big point here, the Biden administration is passing these executive orders in the middle of a banking crisis. Why would he do that? So nobody is looking at these executive orders and all eyes are focused on the banking crisis, which is obviously something worthy, right, to look at and pay attention to, but he's seizing an advantage of a situation and passing all these draconian measures, and the Republican rhinos are like, yeah, amen, we're in on it, let's go along with this. And they're doing it straight under our noses when we're paying attention to something that is paying attention. They're using it as the ultimate distraction. Well, we got to wake up and open our eyes to both things that are going on. We need to pay attention that when all hell is breaking loose in our country, you can guarantee that some tyrannical dictators, Democrat and rhinos, are behind the scenes doing something that you're not going to like. This is a huge red flag. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest on that. Please share this far and wide. By the way, if you haven't gotten to my Rumble channel, go to Rumble, subscribe to me there. I put out this exclusive interview. I want to bring some traffic over to Rumble, but this is an interview that I did with Justin Barkley, and he's been a frequent guest speaker on Glenn Beck, filled in for Glenn Beck as well. You guys are going to want to hear what he says in that report, and I've got it on Rumble. I've also got it on Restricted Republic, but go and subscribe. I've got a channel under Restricted Republic, about 29,000-ish followers there. So get there and check out that channel. Anyhow, I love all of you. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.